and welcome to the Game Theory Podcast Offseason Preview Series, where Bryce Simon and I dig deep into all the big decisions that every NBA team has forthcoming this summer. Today, we're talking about the Brooklyn Nets in what is assuredly going to be a draft-centric episode. But before we get into that, Bryce and I have to thank you guys for making the Offseason Preview Series such a success. We're up over 45,000 YouTube subscribers now. Thank you all for coming to hang out with us, having a good time, rocking with all of the content we're putting out here in the months of May and June. We will continue throughout the course of the offseason as this thing goes. Thank you all for coming to hang out with us. Today we're talking about the Nets. Oh yeah, by the way, hit the subscribe button. Hit the like button while you're here. I forgot. I got excited to talk about the Brooklyn Nets. Go to the YouTube channel. These things go up every day at 12, both on the YouTube channel and on the podcast feed. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Let's talk about the Nets, Bryce. My goodness. Okay. The Nets do have some offseason, things that they have to do, right? Like it's not just the draft. Like Cam Thomas is here. They have to figure out, is there a pathway for them to just get a bunch of assets for Cam Johnson? They have to figure out the Dayron Sharpe situation. Like there are a number of different avenues that they can take. But this is going to end up being like a pretty draft-centric episode to me because they have 4 first-round picks, dude.
Yeah. No, they're a fun offseason in general, right? They get brought up, all the time. And I've experienced this before covering the Pistons a few years ago, whenever they were one of the teams that had cap space. And all of a sudden, all of these free agents were interested in going to the 23-win Detroit Pistons. And you realize, like, no, that's what we call leverage. And the agency or agent putting out, information into the ether. So, welcome Brooklyn Nets fans to that world where every free agent is going to try to use your team's cap space as leverage, but they do have that cap space where they could pay guys, they could bring guys in, they can overpay guys on short-term deals, whatever they want to do, or they can take in bad money to help facilitate other deals. And so in that way, for a team that's not really competing for a title, not really competing for a playoff spot right now, they are very heavily involved in what happens this offseason, along with being involved in the NBA draft very heavily. We will talk about them at length. And again, even if not their picks, I know, again, over on the Pistons podcast, we always talk about trading up to one of the Brooklyn picks at the end of the first round. So they are very heavily involved in conversations across the NBA, which in its own right is kind of fun.
Yeah. I mean, look, like this has been reported. This is not, news that I'm breaking here, but there is like a real degree of chatter behind the scenes that they do want a second lottery pick, right? They would like to continue to try and go and get more high-end talent using some of the capital that they have, be it, future picks that they have. They have a ton of future picks. I mean, we can go through that as well in terms of their cash. They have 4 this year. They have, looking through, in 2027, they have New York's first rounder and they have Philly's first rounder, I believe, but that one's like a little bit funky insofar as it might be now 2028, because it's like they get a Philly first rounder 2 years after, Philly's pick gets conveyed to Oklahoma City.
Oh, okay. Yep.
They have another first rounder from, Philly, Phoenix, or New York. I think that like that might even be like 2 in there. I can't remember, but 2029 is the big one. They have the least favorable of Houston, Dallas, or Phoenix as a first. They have their own pick, and they have a 2029 from New York as well. In 2031, they also have New York's first round pick because of the Mikal Bridges deal. Like there are just a number of picks forthcoming here to Brooklyn, even beyond the 4 that they have this year. Before we dive into the pick situation, though, and the draft, I do want to lay out just their financial situation because, as Bryce said, like this is the team that has cap space this summer. Like this is really, I would argue, like the one team that has significant cap space this summer.
Real quick, because any other team that operates under the cap isn't doing it to be major play. Memphis may end up under the cap as we broke down, but that's to the Jaren Jackson Jr. extension. Detroit could go under the cap, but it's not to be like a crazy. Maybe they could go get somebody, but in general, it's mechanisms of how they re-sign their own guys. Maybe one free agent. Like this is the team that's truly under the cap, like for real.
Yeah. So Brooklyn currently has $65 million on the books for 9 players. That includes Drew Timme, Keon Johnson, Jalen Wilson, I believe Max Lewis, and Tyrese Martin, all of whom I think are non-guaranteed in some respect, either a team option or a non-guarantee. So,
yep,
like there are very, very few players here that are locked into the roster just financially next season. Like it's Cam Johnson, it's Noah Clowney, it's Tariq Whitehead, and it's Nick Claxton, basically. So they could do whatever they want to do this summer financially. Like they want to take Drew Holiday and Kristaps from the Boston Celtics. They can do it, right? Like they can do whatever they really want to over the course of these next couple of weeks. So the other thing is, though, that they have Cam Thomas, Dayron Sharpe, Zaire Williams as restricted free agents. Really, the only 2 guys there that are important to me are Cam Thomas and Dayron Sharpe.
Yeah.
I would imagine they're going to retain both of those players is kind of where I'm at. Maybe not Sharpe. We'll talk through like what his restricted free agency situation could look like. But Cam Thomas, like just from a pure statistical standpoint, is probably the guy that we have to bring up here. Cam Thomas, in the 25 games he played last year, did average 24 points a game. Over the course of the last 90 games he's played, he's up over 23 points per game. 44% from the field, 35% from 3, 88% from the line. Did average 3.8 assists, but like 2.5 turnovers. Not really a passer, right? Like the funny thing is, like, I think he has vision. It's just that he misses so many reads in the ability to actually just take up a contested mid-range shot is my problem. When he chooses to be a passer, the vision is not bad. When he chooses to be like a real playmaker, he knows where to go with the ball. I think there's a case that Cam Thomas is like one of the 15 most just purely gifted scorers of the basketball in the NBA. He is so skilled at getting to his spots. He plays with like such good rhythm, and like the ability to play off of 2 feet. He is so sharp and like, you know, again, like rhythmic. It feels like when I watch him play off of 2 feet, be able to get to his step back, can make shots going to his right or to his left. Like he's a very capable scorer. It's just that nothing else is there for me in terms of his game. Like the defense is just nowhere near the mark. The passing, again, when he wants to, he can do it. He just doesn't do it often enough. I have no idea what a player like this is worth. Like I genuinely have no idea what the number is that I would pay Cam Thomas.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like I was trying to think of what my number was going to be, and I feel like I'm going to sound like a fool one way or the other. Like I'm either going to be way low because this dude, as you mentioned, averaged, 24, 25 points a game over his last, 2 seasons, 24 points a game, 23, and can really, really score it. But the defense is a real issue. I mean, we've seen guys that really score the basketball get paid, but this is really on the other end. It's really, really rough, and the decision making can be really, really rough. And so I don't know what a team is going to value him as. Like, more importantly, I don't know what they see his role being. Like, does a team think they can bring him in and he can be their number 3 option? Do they think is there a team out there that thinks he can be their number 2 option? Does the rest of the league just see him? Yeah, exactly. So like, that's where you hear 24 points and it's not quite as like what you would think. And then it's like, do teams actually just see him as a backup guy, right? Like he's he's your 6-man bucket getter off the bench. And then, then where does he rank in that hierarchy? So I just don't know where teams are going to value him. And if that's what they value him as, does Brooklyn just value him as the most? Like, hey, we need at least somebody to score the basketball until we figure the rest of this out. And so we'll keep him and pay him.
So my thing is like, who is going to pay him this summer? Like, who's going to pay him $20 million this summer? Brooklyn has all the space. Like, they're the team that has the space. So where else is he going to get the money?
Yeah.
I kind of wonder if this is like look, I would be fine paying him $15 million a year. Like I'd be fine paying him like 17, maybe even. Because like that's where you get into the space where it's like, okay, if he's a sixth man, he's probably one of the best sixth man scorers in the NBA. In fact, he's definitely one of the best sixth man scorers.
That's less than Malik Monk, and we think Malik Monk's on a quality contract.
Yeah. I think Malik Monk's better than he is.
Right no, I do as well, but I'm just saying we're talking a few million less per year for a guy in the same role that's at least going to come in and score the basket. Malik's so much better of a passer. It's ridiculous. But
yeah. I just don't know what the number is that somebody else will give him at the end of the day. Like, I don't think anybody's going to be like, we got to sign and trade for Cam Thomas.
So that's what I was going to say. It has to be sign and trade. And like, is Cam Thomas worth like the hassle of going through a sign and trade and giving up something and all of that? Like, I just don't know that a team's going to value it unless you can get him on a sick contract, right? Like a ridiculously, like you just feel like you're getting a steal.
Yeah. I mean,
would he sign the non-tax MLE just to go play on a good team? Let me rephrase this. If you were giving Cam Thomas advice, is there an argument to say, you know what, Cam, go play on a contender and prove that you can contribute to winning basketball on a non-tax MLE for a competitor and then go get paid? I
would say put up as many points as you can.
Okay. So stay in Brooklyn, sign for 2 years in Brooklyn, average 25 a game for the next 2 years, and then hope somebody buys that.
Yeah, that's the other question. Like, is this a 4-year deal? Is it a 2-year deal? Like, I don't know. Like, I genuinely, is it like a Jalen Green style deal where
that's what I'm saying? Like
2+1? Like,
that's to me, if I'm Brooklyn, like, I see his value in Brooklyn. Cause again, like I'm one that if you're going to go this youth route, assuming that's where they're going to need to go. Cause like, that's what's kind of scary about this team is there's not a whole bunch of like young talent that's great anyway, that you're really excited about. So hopefully they can get an influx, but you need somebody to score the at the very least, he puts the ball in the basket and keeps you in games for a little while in the regular season. And then maybe it becomes salary matching. I don't know. He's a very fascinating player. And then when these type of players all of a sudden come up for contract numbers, it's really, really interesting to see how the league values them.
So the full mid-level this year is like 60.6 million, right? So that's like the most he would likely get, I think, from another team. So if I'm Brooklyn, I think I'm going to him and saying, hey,
the 4-year mid-level.
The 4-year mid-level. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I think I'm saying, hey, look, we're willing to go shorter term so you can get to free agency a little bit faster, and we're willing to make sure you get paid here. We'll give you a little bit more than the mid-level. Can we do 3 for 57 and you can have a player option on the next one, or 3 for 60 and you can have a player option on year 3? Like something like that.
Sure.
That kind of works for me. Like it doesn't kill their books. It doesn't, hinder them long term. I'm not the biggest Cam Thomas fan, so like this isn't a deal where I'm like, blown away, but I think that there's a chance he's quite good. Like if he can continue to improve his overall game, his scoring ability is genuinely like special on some level. So he just needs to focus on improving on defense and like making the right decisions and continuing to be like slightly more of a team player, frankly, than what he is now. So, somewhere in the 360 with a player option ballpark feels right to me.
Sure.
And like here's the other thing too. So like part of the reason that like Jalen Green gets 305 or whatever he gets, right, with a player option in the same structure is that Brooklyn had cap space. So like in theory, they could have paid him more this summer in order to try and steal him from Houston. Because Cam Thomas plays for the team that has cap space, the leverage goes away.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're wondering like why the contracts aren't the same, it's that the leverage is just totally different here because there's nobody out there on the market that's going to give him a bunch of money. I was like thinking for a second, like, is there a chance he takes the qualifying offer? And it's just like, let's try and go ham for a year and then figure it out. If I'm him, I think I want real money.
Yeah.
I don't want to play that game, especially because he's dealt with like a few more injuries than what you think. Like, 57 games, 66 games, 25 games the last 3 years. Like, I think I'd want real money now if I can get it.
Sure.
So, okay. That's where we're at on Cam Thomas. I think we can call it there. Like 355 to 360 with a player option on year 3. Give him the upside, but probably not like a wild commitment either.
Yep.
Dayron Sharpe is drastically easier to sort through. He's just a pretty good, solid big man. Average 7.9 points, 6.6 rebounds, 1.8 assists in 50 games last year over the course of 18 minutes per game. Moves his feet like fairly well for a bigger bodied dude. Started to experiment a little bit with shooting threes. I don't really see that as being like a huge piece of his game moving forward, but it is worth noting like the free throw percentage skyrocketed this year up to 76%. So maybe there's a little bit more touch there than what I'm envisioning, but great passer. Honestly, one of the best rebounders in the league. He averaged three offensive rebounds in 18 minutes per game. That's bonkers.
That's what I want. First and foremost with Dayron Sharpe is the rebounding is crazy. And I'm probably as big a Dayron Sharpe fan as you're going to find. Like, I think Dayron Sharpe is really good. Like a high level backup big. Would love to see like what he would do in a starting role, like minutes, whatever. I will just throw up per 100 isn't perfect. I get it. Like, especially the player I'm going to compare him to with one of these stats. That player played 78 games. Dayron Sharpe only played 50 and minutes per game and all of that. Jalen Duren, people are talking about, I just saw on Pistons Twitter before we started recording this, like him getting 30 million a year. Per 100, they essentially average identical numbers. And people talk about Jalen Duren being an elite offensive rebounder. Dayron Sharpe averages more offensive rebounds per 100. And the numbers I used were rebounding, blocks, and assists. And so Sharpe is actually an underrated passer as well in terms of being able to do those type of things. And then I did one with rebounds, steals, and blocks per 100, and he was in a class of his own, just because of kind of the versatility of being this big time rebounder, but this defensive disruptor as well. And then the other one, whenever you did it with the assist. So I realize I'm higher on Dayron Sharpe than most. He's got to be healthy, got to show he can play minutes and all of that. But I think he is a very valuable and skilled and talented big in this league that I think could be an underrated, whether it's this offseason as a free agent, next offseason as a free agent, whatever, the team, whether it's Brooklyn or somebody else, could get a really, really good big man.
I agree with you. I think that the number is at least, so the room exception is like basically 327, right? Like if I'm Memphis and I have the room exception and Zach Edey just got hurt, like I'm definitely giving him the full room exception. And I think Brooklyn matches that for what it's worth. Like I'm not sitting here saying that like Brooklyn doesn't, just retain him at 327. You definitely will. But I think that's the minimum number that Dayron Sharpe gets at least. Given that, like someone might go above that number. Like could someone go to 330? Could someone go to 440? Like could someone go to 444 or 335? Like I don't know. Like it feels like there's a window here. Like it could be more like the room exception and Brooklyn matches. It could be slightly more. Brooklyn's just like, hey, we'll give you 330 and we'll just like retain you. It's a little bit more than the room exception. Like we're just going to take care of you. It's something in that ballpark though. It's like 10 to 12 million a year, I think.
Yeah. And I think based off what he's done, like I said, I'm kind of believing in what I think he is as a player. I think based on the actual production this far, I could see why people would push back and why you wouldn't give him, like a huge number. I'm comfortable in that area for sure. I just wonder if other teams around the league are interested in him. Like, Are the Lakers interested in making a move for him? Are the Cavs interested in like adding a third big to the rotate? Maybe they're not. Like I've continued to harp on the Cavs needing another big and they've continued to not do that. I just wonder if like the Pacers, like the Hawks, like are there any teams around the league that just like, hey, whether it's as like the second big or just like the complimentary big or whatever, I just wonder if he'll have interest around the league at all coming in, because I think he could, but if not, then obviously Brooklyn, and he's a restricted free agent, so Brooklyn can match anything that's out there anyway. I'm interested to see if the league values him at the level I value him or not. Yeah, no, I agree with that totally. Like I'm with you totally on this. I think that's kind of where this falls at the end of the day. Okay. The other two guys that we have to talk about here, Cam Johnson and Nick Claxton. Both not guys that are like Cam Johnson's a valuable guy on a rebuilding team. I don't really think Nick Claxton is all that valuable on a rebuilding team. Nick Claxton's also expensive, but worth noting, a descending contract. Yep. That, will continue to get cheaper and cheaper as things go. $23 million in 2026-27, $20.9 million in 2027-28. And before moving these two, the thing that's worth bringing up here is at some point, Brooklyn is probably going to try and get into the mix for like star players. Sure. Right. I don't see that as being this summer, frankly. Like, look, they can make an offer for Giannis that is like $1 million draft picks and, Nick Claxton and Cam Johnson to match the money. Right. Or they can just take Giannis into the, cap space. And it's just like an all pick steal. I just don't think that ends up being anywhere near the most valuable offer for the Bucks at the end of the day. So Giannis is probably a no. And then you're looking at probably entering next year. And hopefully that's your guy. Maybe you could decide to go for Trae Young if Atlanta decides not to extend Trae Young. Like that could be a name, maybe. I think it's probably the second tier of stars, though. If you want to go in this summer, I don't know why you do that versus just like continuing to rebuild at the end of the day. So like a name we brought up, I don't remember who it was for. Was it Utah? Maybe like Austin Reeves is a name we brought up for them next offseason. Is that a name that would be interesting for Brooklyn next offseason? Next offseason, sure. But like, they don't have anything. Like I'm not trading Austin Reeves for Cam Johnson. No. Yeah. I guess I'm still playing the don't do anything this offseason. Make your draft picks, figure it out, play out this year. That's why you're bringing Cam Johnson back, is to score enough points to be competitive in some games. We both think Jordy did a great job as coach, right? We felt like he did a really nice job. They looks like they made that hire correctly. And then next offseason, you have some options to go be a player. Yeah. No, I think that's right. I think that's basically dead on. In terms of Cam Johnson and Nick Claxton, though, like, are you keeping those guys for another year in order to like help you go, to a star next summer and be like, hey, we have some infrastructure here. We have all these picks that we've just made. We have continuing draft capital coming in. Even if we move some of it for you, this is a good spot to be. Like, this is a good place to be. Or are you moving Cam Johnson for like 2 first-round pick equivalent? Are you moving Nick Claxton for, whatever the Lakers offer, something, right? Yeah. I mean, I think if I got a real offer for Claxton, I would be okay moving him. Again, I'm a huge Dayron Sharpe guy. So like that plays a huge part of the equation, and you got to see if Sharpe can do it for a whole year. Cam, like the tough part with Cam is like, I do think he's a nice piece whenever you get good, right? So like, that's what's tough. I wonder what Cam's next contract is going to be, because like, like right now, I think he's on a really good contract. Are you gonna have to way overpay him, or is he still going to be like right in the right range? He seems like the guy that at this point I would just keep. Like, you already have plenty of picks, so like just keep him around, and hopefully you can continue to keep him around to be on a team that's starting to be good, because he fits that perfectly. And I think Cam, especially, you already alluded to it, is a good player to have on a bad team, in terms of just space the floor, big wing, all of that. So unless I just had an offer I couldn't refuse, I think I would keep Cam. And Claxton is fine. It's just like I would trade him if I got an offer I liked. If the Lakers gave me something I really liked, oh man, I'll take that. But otherwise, I'm okay with Claxton on the roster, but I would be more comfortable with moving him.
Yeah, I would also be more comfortable moving him. We've talked about there's a deal where the Lakers and Celtics and Nets can kind of kill multiple birds with one stone, right? The Lakers want a center. Nick Claxton makes a ton of sense. The Celtics have to get off cap space. Moving Kristaps into Brooklyn's cap space is a huge win for them to me. And if I'm Brooklyn, I like the idea of having Kristaps, especially if I keep Dayron Sharpe.
Yeah.
Because Kristaps can really help my young guards develop actually as a floor spacing shooter.
Sure.
That's a guy that is really invaluable for.
Plus the cap space, right? You get off Claxton's, it's a decent deal, but Kristaps is expiring.
Yeah. You open up cap space even wider year. Moving forward. Yeah. It's a deal that just tracks to me kind of across the board. It's something is there any way that, Boston could get value for our idea was something
do you still get connects or multiple? What does Brooklyn still get along with Kristaps?
My idea was could you do Kristaps, Gabe Vincent, Maxi Kleba into your space? So you're for Claxton. So you're adding 27 million. So you're eating into your cap space that way.
Not all of it.
You get not all of it, but you get a first rounder from Boston. You get a second rounder from Boston or something. Maybe you do get connects from Brooklyn, right? Something like that.
That would be interesting to me there. If I could get a real first round pick or connect, that would be interesting.
But if I'm Boston, I probably want something still. If I'm giving up a first with Porzingis, who's on I probably want connect in that deal. If sure. I'm Boston and I'm giving up a first with Porzingis, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if I'm Brooklyn, I'm getting off of the Claxton money for Porzingis, so I'm replacing him for this year. I'm taking Gabe Vincent. I'm taking Maxi Kleba, both 1-year deals, both vets that are probably fine to have around, right? If I'm getting a first, that's not a bad deal to me.
Yeah. Okay. What's that first?
My idea was 2027, top 8 protected or something from Boston.
Boston's own.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I maybe I'm lower on Claxton than some, but I feel like a first round pick for Claxton, more cap space in the summer of 2026. And you're still going to get I guess this is a little bit of what's Porzingis' health, but you're going to get 50 games of Porzingis, like you said, and what he provides. Okay. That's interesting to me.
It's not bad.
Lakers get Claxton. Boston gets the flexibility.
Yeah. So the Lakers get Claxton for Vincent Kleba and connect. That's a good deal for them for sure.
Yeah. And then Boston gets off the money, but replaces a 2027 first with essentially a first round pick from 2024.
Yeah.
I'm trying to decide if that's the best value you can get for Claxton, because you are eating into the salary cap space a little bit. I wonder if that deters you from making other moves in terms of taking in money for the cap space.
It's the opportunity cost. I agree with you.
That I think that would be my biggest holdup, is having to take on Gabe and Maxi also. And what does that cost me in other potential moves of bad contracts and assets? Yeah.
I mean, you could also just do Rui into that too. If I am the Lakers, I'm definitely willing to do Rui and connect for Claxton.
What's Rui have left?
He's 1 year at 18, I believe.
So okay. I'm just I'm trying
to
make
Rui
sure
is more maybe Rui's more tradable, I guess is my theory.
Yeah, and I'm just trying to keep that cap space open for 2026 to go be a player for them. So
like Kristaps, Rui in a 1 to the Celtics. No, it's Kristaps, Rui, the Celtics top 8 protected 2027 first and 2026, second from Boston. Claxton to the Lakers for Rui and Connect. And then for the Celtics, they get 27 million of cap space gone off their books. And they basically trade a first and a second to get off of the money and get Connect.
And the actual money savings on that $27 million cap space is ridiculous, right? Like that's...
Yeah, I mean, it gets them artificially below the second apron, like immediately. And gets them... I would imagine that's pretty close to the tax line for them. It's not... I think it's still ahead of the tax line, but they are 39 million over the tax right now. So that gets you within 12 of the tax. If I'm Boston, I'm trying to get under the tax this year for sure.
Yeah. Get out of the repeater situation. Sure.
That deal works for me.
Sure. Interesting.
Cam Johnson, it's just the price is 2 first-round picks to me. Otherwise, I'm keeping him.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that another team should definitely do that. I think there's a case too. But if some team gives me a couple of first-round picks that are one of which is very solid, or a first-round pick and a really good prospect, like a player that I like, that's something I'm interested in.
Yeah. Yeah. It would take a good offer for me to move off Cam.
Would take a really good offer for me to move off Cam Johnson. And I don't know that we need to dig into all of those things. Claxton, it feels like the Lakers are the team. If it's somebody, maybe you can make a case for Phoenix. If they get below the second apron and they don't get a center back in this deal that they're going to do with Durant, I think that's entirely plausible that Phoenix would make sense here for Nick Claxton. But it's that's really getting into a house of cards to me.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about the draft.
Yeah.
So number 8, number 19, number 26, number 27, number 36. Number 19, 26, and 27, those are all going to be the same players available, right? Yeah. At number 8 is probably where I want to spend the most time here. Number 8 to me is a fascinating selection for them. I think the guy that I've pointed to for them that I really like is Kasparis.
Yeah.
I think he can play like a real point guard, but he can also play off of the ball. And if I'm Brooklyn at number 8, something that we've discussed is because you have so many of these picks, even if you do consolidate, you're still probably only consolidating, 2 or 3 of them, right? You're still going to end up with 3 rookies on the roster almost certainly next year. I want to find the way to get the most value out of this pick. And Kasparis, to me, is one of the ways to do that because of the versatility to play both on and off ball while being able to play both guard positions. Maybe Jeremiah Fears, you can say his upside is just so high that you want to go for it. I'm less sold on that, but sure, I'll hear it out, right? Especially when you have Cam Thomas. That's just endless dribbling on the perimeter between Cam Thomas and Jeremiah Fears. That's just not a style of basketball that I feel like I would enjoy. But Kasparis can really pass. He gets his guys involved. I don't know. That's the guy I like for them quite a bit, if I'm being honest.
That was the name that stood out to me as I, just look at my board and my tiers and stuff. Do you feel like they would have to trade up for Kasparis? I feel like there's a real chance he's there at 8, right?
I think there's a real chance. Yeah. I think real chance he's there at 8.
This is a team we would be okay if they try to get up to 3 or 4, right? If 3 or 4 or whatever was in business and they we think VJ is a star. We would be, this is one of those teams where we would understand trading up. I've kind of been anti trade up for teams in this range because of where tier breaks are. But this is one where it's if you really think that there's a guy that fits your system and whatever, I would understand that. So if you're just like, hey, VJ has a different level of ceiling and he fits what we want to do perfectly, and Fernandez, go for it, right? Like I would be supportive of that for Brooklyn. They're one team I would be okay with that.
Yeah, I mean, they have 1 million picks moving forward. Like they have future picks that they can move out if they wanted to move up too. Like you could go, if you offered Philly number 8, number 19, and 2 future firsts or and 1 future first, let's say. Yeah. Number 8, number 19, and 1 future first. I mean, that gives Philly like a lot of firepower to be able to go out and like make some moves.
Yeah.
If they want to.
Sure.
That's actually like an interesting offer at that point to me. If Brooklyn really likes VJ, if Brooklyn really likes
Ace or
whoever, right?
Yep.
Even the number 6, like I think going up to, if you offered number 8 and number 26 for number 6, like that's an interesting deal to me.
Is there one of those
8 and 19? I think for number 6 is fine.
Is there one of those guys you do like? Like I bring up VJ, like just in general for Brooklyn, kind of knowing how Fernandez runs offense now and stuff. Is Trey a good fit there? I mean, Khan kind of fits any system. So I don't want you to answer Khan, but do you look at Trey like he fits that perfectly, or does VJ fit perfectly? Like it's a weird roster because essentially anybody can fit because that roster is so fluid and so has so little depth. But is there one of those guys in that of those, I don't want to say upper tier because Kasparis is kind of in the same range, that you would be excited about for them or think is a good quote unquote fit?
I'm comfortable with them going up and swinging for the fences.
Okay.
Like if you want to go up and get Ace at like number 4 or whatever, number 5, whatever you feel like you have to do, like I'm totally good with that. Honestly, if you want to go up and get VJ because you think VJ's upside athletically is just so much better, I'm totally open to that. And I think that's like a completely reasonable, rational decision for Brooklyn because they have the like pick capital almost regardless to be able to go and like find veteran players and like, role players on rookie deals. Like you can go say you have to use number 8, number 19 and a future first to move up to number 3, right? Still have 26 and 27 and 36 to be able to go and try and, fill the gaps on your roster that you want to, right?
Yeah.
Like they would still have enough capital to be able to move up to number 3 and probably move into the lottery again if they wanted to.
Yeah.
So like, yes, to me, if I am Brooklyn, like I'm exploring all sorts of move up options. That's really what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to move up in this draft. And trying to go get somebody that I think is a dude, whoever that is. Like for me, like I don't see it in this class, but like if they evaluate somebody outside of Cooper and Dylan as being that guy, having said that, like I would want to move up into that top 6 if I was Brooklyn. Like I do have a tier break after 6. Like I would like to go get one of VJ, Trey, Connor, Ace. Yeah. Like I would want to do that if I'm them.
Sure. Yep.
Maybe it's 6. Maybe you just do a deal with Washington where you're like, we'll give you 8 and a future first for number 6.
And just make sure you get one of those guys.
And you make sure you get one of those guys. Something like that.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
The other option here is using 19 and moving up into the lottery again. Like if I am Portland or if I am Chicago at number 11 and number 12, right? And I can get number 19 in a future first, I'm probably doing that.
If they don't get Kasparis, let's say they get one of the other guys, is this like where you would be more comfortable with Fears? Like, would you, like if they trade up to, well, what's Portland's? I mean, you would just rather they wait till 19 to draft Fears.
Yeah, like I'm just not that high on him, but like, he's not getting to 19. He's not getting to, 12 probably, it feels like. And that's not specific. It's just that, yeah, like I just wouldn't, I probably would effectively not be taking Jeremiah Fears, but like, I think he's talented. Like, I think there's real upside there. It's just the way that I want to build my roster. It just doesn't totally work for me.
Sure.
That's just me personally, right? Like I'm not I don't want to hate on Jeremiah Fears, the player. It's just like, I think he's quite small and doesn't defend. And it's exceptionally hard to make winning rosters, especially if I'm Brooklyn, around two guys who are quite small and don't defend in Jeremiah Fears and Cam Thomas. Right.
Yeah.
So like for them, I probably, if I'm keeping Cam Thomas, I'm probably not interested in Jeremiah Fears. Like it's to me like kind of one or the other. And I already have Cam Thomas on my roster. I don't need another like guy who dribbles the air out of the ball and doesn't defend. As good as Jeremiah Fears is at dribbling the air out of the ball, because he is very, very gifted as a ball handler and is very fast and can create separation and is a like skilled basketball player. It's just not what I would do personally.
So I think for them, if we were moving back up into the lottery, I think like a name that stands out to me is if like Carter Bryant isn't valued by NBA teams the way he is by us, right? Like that's a fun name. What do you think about CMB for Brooklyn? Yeah. So like, those are the ones that kind of stood out to me, like Murray Boyles, Carter Bryant. The
guy that stands out for me, I think, is Cedric Coward. Like, go get Cedric Coward.
Yeah.
To me, or like, here's another upside swing. If you want to do this, like if you feel like you have to jump up to number 12 to get Noah Essengay, or like if you feel like you have to jump to 10.
This seems like the team for Essengay. This for me, this would be a team for Essengay. I know.
Agree.
A lot of other people are way higher on Essengay than I think maybe this podcast collectively, but Brooklyn, I like that swing for them.
Yeah, like I have Essengay at like 15 or 16 or so, but like if they were the team to do it and feel like we have to go up and get him because we want to take an upside swing, I would understand Brooklyn doing that.
Yeah.
Like I, you know, again, it probably wouldn't be a move that I would do, but I would understand them doing it at the end of the day. Other guys there, like, I mean, again, like I really like Coward for them. I think that'd be fun. You know, as a guy that can, you know, potentially, you know, dribble, pass, shoot, defend at 6'6" with 7'2" wingspan, like just a big dude. Carter Bryant's fun name. Casper's good name.
What about Traore if they don't take a point guard, like if it's not Casper's, like if it's a wing of some sort at 8, like Traore at 19 or maybe a small trade up or something for him?
So this is why another reason why I don't love Fears for them at 8, right? Assuming they keep 19, 20, like a couple of picks of 19, 26, 27, right? All of Jace Richardson, Walter Clayton, Nolan Traore. I mean, Yegor Demon, I think is like somewhere, you know, could be in this ballpark.
I actually think this is one I think would be interesting for Yegor.
Yeah. So like the on-ball point guards, right? Or like smaller guards, let's call them something like that. The smaller guards to me are guys that I would look at, I think, later on in the draft, because I think that could be a value swing for Brooklyn, given that they don't have guards right now. And if you take Jeremiah Fears at number 8, you're probably blocking like a smaller guard and the ability to actually play him. Because again, Fears is not going to be able to play with another smaller guard, I don't think. So that's why this whole thing is like kind of tricky to me.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the, what do we always talk about, like in the NFL draft, like the idea of there being like a, you know, like the duels.
Yeah.
Like you're picking multiple guys, right? You know, who works better for you? Jeremiah Fears and, you know, Liam McNeely?
Yeah.
Or is it Kasparis Yakashonis and, you know, Jace Richardson or something, right?
Yep. Yeah, no, that's
like that's what we talk about often here.
Yeah. I mean, it came from the NFL draft this year with me, like listening. People know I'm a Chiefs fan or whatever. And it was like, do you take a tackle in the first round and a defensive end in the second round? Or do you take the defensive end in the first round and a tackle in the second round? And like, which is better value? Which combo would you rather have? Brooklyn is actually one of those teams that has that in this class, right? Or in this draft because of their pick situation. So, I would go more either, Casparis as a bigger guard or one of the wings, kind of off ball guard wings with my top pick, and then feel fine if I land Traore, Jaeger, Jace. Like, I still haven't sold all of my Ben Suraf stock. That would be more 26, 27, not at 19.
Yeah.
I think I would be more inclined to go with those guys there.
It's almost like hard to have this conversation because they have so many picks,
so many options.
19, 26, 27, and they have an open roster. You know what I mean?
No, that's what their roster is crazy in regards to that. Cause it's like, you literally can draft any position, you can go anywhere. There's nothing like completely locked in.
So like guys that I would like for them. I like the idea of Danny Wolf for them. Like, I think that'd be a fun, like playmaker big. I like the idea of Jace Richardson for them. Like just, smart guard who can score. Right. I always like spacers for rebuilding teams. Like Liam McNeely would make sense to me.
Sure.
For them.
Yeah.
Super competitive kid that tracks. Will Riley, I think is like an upside, big wing would make some sense for them. Jaeger, you can make a case, big upside swing. The other guy that like I'm gonna slide up on my board, I think we talked about this when we recorded after game 4. Hugo, I think makes a ton of sense for them.
Yeah.
Like Hugo is a guy that really, really tracks for me with them. Super competitive, built like a tank, great motor, great defender. If you think he shoots it at some point, he's definitely a rotation player.
And depending on what they do with the big, I mean, we spent some of this podcast talking about trading Nick Claxton at 26, 27, especially. There's some really interesting bigs. Like you already mentioned, like the Danny Wolf, but Maxime Renault, Ryan Cockbrenner, like those guys are interesting, and both guys that have the potential to space the floor and give you something a little bit different from the center position. Obviously Cockbrenner's better defensively there. But I think you have those options, especially late in the first as well. So, I'm fascinated to see what they do, right? In terms of, do they go ahead and is there multiple, like, do they start with 4 first round picks and make 2, right? Like they move up at number 8 and then they move up again somewhere. How do they mesh all of these picks together? Do they push one to the future, right? Can they do that somewhere? They find somebody that wants to get back into the first round and they're able to push one out to a future. So you're not bringing in 4 first round picks plus a top of the second round pick into your organization in 1 year. So it'll be really interesting to see how they navigate all of that.
Yeah, completely agree. And they have 2 of these things. Like Rasheer Fleming's another name.
Yeah, I like that name for them. Yep.
For sure. Asa Newell, another name that like tracks for them, multi, 4 or 5 bigs, interesting to me. Drake Powell, I guess, is another name, if you wanted to bring in like a high level defender on the wing, given that you have Cam Thomas and, Cam Johnson is fine on defense. He's smart. He knows where he's supposed to be, but he's not like a stopper. Right.
Yeah.
So Drake Powell would make some sense to me as well for them.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. Look, like we've given a ton of names on Brooklyn for the draft, and we've given a ton of ideas on Brooklyn for the draft. I think we can call it there. They're just so open. That's what makes like a conversation like that hard. They have no real roster right now, and they have a million picks. We're just kind of naming everybody at that point. Bryce, tell the people where they can find your work. Tell the people what's going on.
Yeah, at Motor City Hoops on Twitter, on Blue Sky. Where else will you find 50 minutes of Brooklyn Nets offseason conversation other than the Game Theory podcast? I will tell you guys, for Brooklyn fans over on the Motor City Hoops Substack, I actually did video breakdowns on a lot of the names we dropped today in that later 26, 27, 36, because Detroit has a pick at 37. So if you're interested in names, I have like little short they're short for me because I talk a lot. 8 to 12 minute video breakdowns on a lot of those names. You guys can go check that out on the Substack, Pistons Pulse podcast, and then the Game Theory podcast with Sam Vecenie right here.
Go to The Athletic, keep me employed over there. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button on these videos on the podcast feed. We really appreciate all of you. Until next time, we'll talk soon. Bye.